To me, it's important to tell these histories of minorities and black history because they are universal stories. They are the stories that link us all together. Because Europe's place in the world, the story of empire, the story of trade, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't work as a narrative unless we have the stories of those who encountered Europeans as well as those Europeans encountered. But also these stories are some of the best stories. These histories are some of the most compelling narratives. They make sense of the societies in Europe that we've created, and they make sense of the way European societies now look. The British Jamaican academic Stuart Hall said, "We are here because you were there." Without those connections, without this being a joint history of encounters, much of it tragic, but not all of it, unless it's seen as a joint history, we end up with parallel, separate, marginal histories, and the connections between them aren't amplified, and those connections are so important. Stories like the First World War, understanding the First World War without understanding its imperial context, that 4 million non-white people fought in that conflict, many of them in Europe. You get a monochrome, a really anemic version of the First World War without the involvement of the global story. And it's true for many other aspects of what we call European history, because European history, from the 16th century onwards at least, is global history. Museums of world culture, ethnographic museums, come from a very difficult place because they were part of a colonial imperial infrastructure that was built on an imperial mindset that was about collection, about anthropology, about objectification of people and of objects. They are across the world being transformed, and they are, I think, becoming part of this much more interesting, much more progressive dialogue of understanding that these are joint histories, but also demonstrating that, of showing that these objects all have stories to tell. Some of them are difficult stories that we might not want to explore, but they're really important stories to tell. I think across the world, when I go to museums that were once anthropological museums, or museums that have difficult collections and sometimes difficult histories, what I'm increasingly seeing is a willingness to tell that story, to confront those difficulties, to reassess some of the former heroes, some of the difficult histories that we've all been bequeathed. We didn't do this. We aren't the people from the 19th century, the 18th century, the 17th century who did these things, but we are the people who are responsible with making sense of the legacy of that history and the mindsets and very often the terrible things that were done in the name of these ideas. We are the inheritors of this material, we're the inheritors of the history that comes with it, the baggage that comes with it. And across the world I see museums of global history beginning to go on a new and exciting journey to openly address the things that we've been bequeathed, these difficult questions.